welcome back everyone to a video series dedicated show on Paramount Plus that can sense disappointment from their eyes. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge World Championships Episode 7. We're on Episode 7, and can I just say, woo! This episode was incredible. I think this was the best episode of the season thus far, but let's get into it. We're starting off with Bananas and Justine swinging by the poolside. They like each other as partners, and they're really working well with each other, which when I saw Justine and Bananas starting off this episode, I was like, yeah, something's gonna happen. Either they're gonna win the daily or they're gonna be going into elimination. And I was kind of right in my feeling when seeing them right off the bat. We also get a meeting of the underdogs, or how Bananas is going to reference them as the little rascals of Benha, Jody, Kellyanne, and Tristan. They have been at the bottom the whole time, and they feel like maybe they can trust each other. They really can't trust anybody else in the house because they've heard their names being said by everybody. They've been voted in by everybody essentially at this point. So Benha, Jody, Kellyanne, and Tristan all agree that they will never say each other's names and will not push other people to say their names. We also get a conversation between Tori and Justine. Tori is venting about her partnership with Danny and how it's a real struggle. We also get Bananas, who is listening in, hiding in the closet, kind of taking jabs at Tori. Maybe you should be a better partner. Maybe you should listen to your partnership. We get a little bit of a close fight. And then we have Danny's side of things, where he is also frustrated, but he mainly talks about his frustrations with Ben. Ben has been really wishy-washy, and we also hear Ben, who is saying that he hasn't been feeling that great, but he is here to try to make it far, and the only team that he can trust is the team of Ben and Casey, himself and Casey. And then we also have Amber, who is playing Dr. Amber, a sense of Dr. Phil couple counseling between Theo and Kaz, where they talk about how they will work together. They do feel like they can trust each other. But Theo does say later on in this episode that if push comes to shove, he's not going to be scared to go down and fight Kaz and Jordan if it's between him and them. Like, he's not going to stick his neck out too far for Kaz and Jordan if it's threatening his position in this game and him going further in the game, which I think is totally understandable. Now, talking about getting further in this game, everybody dons their challenge gear, heads down to meet up with TJ for this week's daily challenge called Tunnel Time, not to be confused with Tunnel Vision or Tony Time. Tunnel Time is a daily challenge where only the global MVPs will be participating for the most part. And what teams are going to have to do in this daily challenge is that the global MVPs are going to be going down into a sewer and then having to count all the flags that are in that tunnel, and then they're going to have to get out, use that number to solve a math equation to help free their legend partner, and then ring a bell. The team with the quickest amount of time will win into power, win into safety, while the team with the longest amount of time comes in last place and goes directly into elimination. Now, I will say that it was kind of interesting in the sense that we have had these challenges before where only one teammate or one partner would do the whole thing. If we remember back in Double Agents, we had TJ come to the house and take half of the pairs away while they were chained up in like a cave. This was smaller in scale, and the partners were chosen for them. So the legends just had to sit there and kind of bide their time waiting for the global MVPs to hopefully get their math equation correct and unchain them. This daily challenge seemed very inspired. I liked the look of it. I liked how everybody was deciding how to work together. We got to see the global MVPs math skills or lack thereof. I really did like this daily challenge. Now let's get into the heats. Now, there could be only 2 people per heat to go down into the tunnel. We had Theo and Sarah versus Benha and Jody, where right off the bat, Benha and Jody set the bar extremely low, where Benha did have the right amount of flags. It was just that it was sort of a mess when it came to the actual math portion. I mean, he was writing his numbers really big. When he got some of the equations wrong, he tried to write over his own numbers. It didn't look like he had an eraser right there next to him. It looked like an utter mess, as Theo and Sarah was able to ring the bell, get done with their math equation, while Benha and Jody had their time expired. So at this moment, Benha and Jody were at the very bottom of the rankings. And I mean, all the rest of the teams had to do was just finish. They didn't even have to worry about getting a quick time unless they wanted to win, but just not to get last place and go directly into the elimination, all the teams just had to finish. Heat 2, Ben and Casey versus Danny and Tori. Ben and Casey win that, but Danny and Tori also finish. You have Heat 3 between Darrell and Kiki and Bananas and Justine. Darrell and Kiki win that round against Bananas and Justine, who do actually finish. And then you have Heat 4, where you have Yes and Emily and Kellyanne and Tristan. Now, this was interesting because TJ did say that the global MVPs would be working by themselves and that the legends will be sitting out. However, Emily was getting all the help from Yes, who was doing all of this math very impressively in his head. I mean, Yes couldn't even go down to the ground to write the numbers in the sand to do the math. He just stood there and Emily was like, what's this? And he came up with all these numbers right then and there. It was super impressive, the math skills of Yes, who helped Emily get the numbers in record speed, and Yes and Emily were able to win this thing pretty handily. Kellyanne and Tristan finish. You have Amber and Troy and Jordan and Kaz as the final heat that we saw in the edit, and Amber and Troy were able to win that heat, even though Troy and Kaz had to go down for a second time. It looked, from just what the edit showed, that they were the only people to go down for a second time. But Troy and Amber were able to get free and ring the bell and finish, not coming in last place. And Jordan and Kaz just did not do well. I mean, let's put this all on Kaz here, who didn't even seem to have the right numbers of the flags, where this was the tiebreaker that came down between Jordan and Kaz going into elimination or Benha and Jody going into elimination. And it was Jordan and Kaz who got last place because they just did not have the right math, because they just couldn't figure out really anything. At this point, they didn't have the right values when it came down to the math or the flag portion, and it was just bad. It was bad for Jordan and Kaz, who came last place. They're going directly into the elimination. You have yet another strong team on the block with Jordan and Kaz, as well as thinking about what are the other competitors thinking about, because Jordan and Kaz is a very strong team. I mean, that's a strong duo made up of two champs, and coming back to the Challenge House, there's some people that are thinking, why don't we take the shot, You got a really strong team in the elimination, why not send in another strong team? That was the whole thought process when Wes and Zara got last place. So coming back to the Challenge House, this is when Team US really tries to sit down with each other and try to get on the same page, which everybody initially agrees in front of everybody. But really in the confessionals, everybody is letting it be known the truth that everybody is skeptical of each other and don't think that they can trust each other moving forward. Tori wants to come up with a plan of putting in Jody and Benha, because they've said their names over and over and over again, as well as Darrell and Kiki. They need one other team on their side to ensure those nominations, so Tori goes and tells Kellyanne, this is the plan. She had Casey as backup, and Kellyanne agrees to Tori's face. Tori leaves the room, and this is when Kellyanne lets it be known to Casey, saying, I'm not feeling that plan. I think we could get the numbers to change this all up. And you know what? I'm not opposed to going to a stalemate. And I knew that this episode was going to take a real big turn in a completely different way than how it's been trudging along this whole time, because Kellyanne said, I'm not worried about going to a stalemate. And I was thinking, this is it. This is going to be where it all changes. And so Kellyanne goes to have a conversation with Jody and Benha about what she heard from Tori and the USA plan, and they come up with a plan to go tell Darrell and Kiki, which then gets all the numbers on their side for the voting ceremony. But the key thing is no burn votes. This is a huge thing that's happened in this season, that a ton of people just love to do burn votes, but we've come to a point in this game where you cannot do burn votes, because a burn vote can absolutely screw everything up. They go and tell Darrell, who was 100% on board. Whatever you want, Kellyanne, as long as it's not my name and you're trying to look out for me, let's do this thing, So we get to the voting ceremony, and this is where we get a little bit of a change in the whole trajectory of things, because now Danny and Tori, who were getting called out for not going first or early last week by Theo, wants to go first this time and pile all the votes onto Benha, Jody, Darrell, and Kiki. We have Theo and Sarah jumping in on this, and Justine and Bananas also jumping on this. But then we have Tristan and Kellyanne showing how they want to play this game. Instead of being the swing vote for Team USA, they're taking the stand for their own side and their own game by voting in Theo and Sarah and Bananas and Justine, where Kiki and Darrell, Benha and Jody, Troy and Amber all back that vote up, and it comes down to Casey and Ben. Casey and Ben are doing a relatively good acting job because I do think that they really wanted to vote in Theo and Sarah into elimination. But they play it off as they don't want a stalemate because the last time there was a stalemate, their names were set, you know? And also, they know that Emily is very close to Sarah, so if they do a stalemate and Sarah wants to get Ben back into elimination, Ben and Casey knows that Sarah knows which strings to pull to get her way with her best friend Emily at the helm, at the charge. So they don't want a stalemate either. And they don't really necessarily mind Theo and Sarah are necessarily in the line of fire. So this is where we see Ben and Casey indeed vote Sarah and Theo and then do a burn vote of Kellyanne and Tristan, which leads to the nominees this week being not one, but two USA teams of Bananas and Justine, Sarah and Theo, leaving the only USA team to have not seen an elimination thus far in this game, Danny and Tori. Wow, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking that the USA team was gonna be so strong. Having 4 teams left in this game, I thought that they were just going to bull through this whole season. But how the game has changed, how the trajectories have changed in this game up to what we saw in episode 2 and 3, and how everybody was just voting in the same way over and over again to where we are right now, having Bananas, Justine, and Sarah and Theo nominated to possibly go into an elimination against Jordan and Kaz. I was thinking we are in for a wild ride. But before we can get to this week's elimination, we do go to a bar scene where we see Jody and Benha letting loose because, hey, we didn't get last place. We're destined not to see an elimination this week, and they're feeling absolutely incredible. The same with Kellyanne and Tristan, especially Kellyanne, who is on cloud 9 because not only is she safe, but she was able to orchestrate all the votes and take the information that was given to her from Tori and to use it against the USA teams and alliances, and now she was the person that was looked at as weak. She was on a team that was possibly going into elimination over and over and over again, and now she took the power back, and she feels incredible. She feels great. Bananas and Justine, not so much. They're not incredibly too worried about the elimination, but Bananas is kind of in his feelings at the bar, being like, well, we're the Avengers, and they're the little rascals. Like, they had to do all of this to possibly get me into elimination. And I can understand that he's a little bitter in this moment, but it was just a really, really good gameplay from Kellyanne, who decided to take matters into her own hands. And this was just a really, really good move. And it was at a time in the game that is very pivotal. And now, speaking of elimination, everybody dons their challenge gear to meet up with TJ at the arena, where he calls down Jordan and Kaz to join him. And then we have Bananas, Justine, Theo, and Sarah also joining TJ and Jordan and Kaz down at the arena floor. TJ looks up to Yes and Emily, asking who they want to send in against Jordan and Kaz, and they say Bananas and Justine. And this was just a decision that we all saw coming because of how close Emily and Sarah are with each other, as well as Yes is no fool. You know, Yes is like, there's a 7-time champ down there, and I had the ability to send him in. I mean, I'm going to take my shot here. So good on Yes and Emily for taking a shot at Bananas and Justine, who are a very strong team. Bananas is a 7-time champ, and now you have a strong team against strong team playing against each other in this week's elimination called Lock, Stacked, and Barrel, where each team is going to have to replicate a pattern using barrels. The first team to get all their barrels situated in the correct sequence and then press the red button together will win the elimination and stay in this game. This is kind of similar to the brick puzzle that Bananas and Nani did in the Challenge 38 finals that cost them the game. So I thought Bananas is going to be way more meticulous during this puzzle. He's going to be a lot better at knowing what strategies to use with the barrels, with the puzzles, and I thought that possibly he wouldn't let the same thing happen here. He wasn't going to get frazzled. He wasn't going to panic. He was going to be able to finish this puzzle and lock it in. But then again, Jordan and Kaz are really, really strong players, and Jordan is very detail-oriented, and Jordan in eliminations is nobody to joke with. You know, I mean, more times than not, if you send him in, he's going to be able to win. And the thing that really is the difference maker in this elimination is the crowd help and lack thereof for certain contestants. I mean, Tori is always going to help Jordan here. I mean, when Jordan puts up the sun barrel and it's frowning and he doesn't catch it right away, I mean, Tori is right there to say every detail matters or something to that effect, and he looks down and he's able to throw that barrel off and know that that was the wrong barrel. He also got help from Kellyanne and Yes, who both wanted Bananas out of this game. Ultimately, this elimination comes down to the small, minute details, and when it comes down to it, Bananas and Justine just aren't catching the sun frowning. And so when they keep on pressing the buzzer, and TJ says, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, and then finally Jordan and Kaz are able to get all their barrels in the right sequence, they press the buzzer, and they are deemed the winners. And when Bananas is looking like, I don't know what's going, what was it? Everybody, I think, said it in unison going, it was the sun screwed you up. Everybody knew what the problem was and said nothing. And that's gotta hurt, you know? That's gotta hurt Bananas' ego a little bit, because he was working with a lot of these players in this game, not only this season, but in previous seasons. I mean, Tori, Casey, he was working with them, as well as some other MVPs and legends. And nobody spoke up. Like, nobody even gave a hint to Bananas what was up with his puzzle. Yet everybody knew exactly what was wrong with his puzzle. That's gotta be a little bruise to the ego a little bit. But also, I think Bananas is gonna take this as like, well, they saw me as a huge threat and that's why they didn't want to help me out. But it wasn't a sad ending at all, because at the end, you had Jordan and Bananas kind of like having this like fun rivalry with each other. They have a little bit of a bromance. It's a long cry away from what we saw back in season 25, Free Agents, to now, where they're facing off against each other, and this time Jordan was able to get the best of Bananas, where Bananas and Justine are eliminated from this game. Now think about that. Think about the last three teams that were eliminated from this game. You have Wes and Zara, Johnny and Grant, Bananas, and Justine. Those are three really strong teams gone. Just like that in the span of 2 weeks. Jordan and Kaz win, get to stay in this game, and now there's 9 teams left heading into episode 8. But that is it for this week's review and recap. What do you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about the daily challenge, Tunnel Time? What do you think about the elimination, Locked, Stacked, and Barreled? And what do you think about Kellyanne and her plan to switch everything up on Tori and the Challenge USA team? Do you think that was great strategy on her part? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, are you sad to see Bananas and Justine eliminated? Let me know that as well. Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge World Championship content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.